One wrong turn, and there's nothing but a 1,000-foot drop below.
Let's jump right into this explainer on some of the absolute most dangerous infrastructure in China. Today, we're not just looking at roads that go around nature. We're looking at places where human engineering directly confronts the most terrifying, inaccessible forces on the planet. We're talking about roads and bridges built in places where the terrain literally refuses to make room for us.
I mean, just imagine looking out your car window and seeing your tires a hand's width away from a massive deadly drop. That's the daily reality at Laotsai Tai. It's so intense, people actually compare it to driving straight into a tiger's mouth. The rock overhangs are so perilously low that hitting a simple pothole could cause a 2-inch rise. And that tiny bump, that's enough to strike the roof against the rock and send your entire vehicle plunging into the river below. It really begs the question, why on earth would anyone build, let alone drive, a road like this?
So here's our roadmap for today. 1. Carved into the cliffs. 2. The endless hairpin turns. 3. Conquering water and ice. 4. Suspended above the clouds. And 5. Stepping over the abyss.
Let's start with Section 1. Carved into the cliffs.
There's this terrifying contrast in these raw survival routes. Take Laotsai, where that suffocating 19.7-foot width literally forces trucks to fold in their mirrors and inch forward mirror to mirror just to make it through alive. It's a lot like the Jinkou Grand Canyon, which by the way used to be a restricted military zone. There, drivers get trapped between a river and these towering limestone walls that drop massive rocks with zero warning. But then you have the lawn-winning cliff road. It's an even tighter 9.8-foot crack, hanging almost 5,000 feet in the air. It features these absolutely terrifying openings called hell windows. They were originally used to chuck out excavated rock, but now they just open directly to a 6,562-foot drop. No guardrails. Every single turn of the wheel puts you inches from death.
The craziest part about Langying? It took exactly 23 villagers hanging on ropes for 4 straight years to carve that road. No heavy machinery, no formal engineers, just hammers, chisels, and a desperate will to survive so they could finally export their farm goods. It perfectly mirrors the Xiago Hanging Highway, where villagers spent 30 years hand-carving a stacked Z-shaped tunnel right through mid-air rock just to escape total geographic isolation. The big takeaway here? These aren't just roads, they are literal lifelines built on pure, raw human willpower.
Moving on to Section 2, the endless hairpin turns. The sheer absurdity of this terrain is honestly staggering. At Tanmen Mountain, you've got 99 turns spaced less than 66 feet apart, ending right below Heaven's Gate. Over on the Nujiang River, drivers face over 130 severe hairpins. The Liang Road packs 68 harsh Z-shaped turns into just 3.9 miles. And then there's the Panlong Ancient Road. It literally looks like a ribbon dropped from the sky, with a staggering 600 U-turns packed into just a 19-mile stretch. To put that into perspective, the Yellow River Stone Forest has only 22 bends, but they're so deadly and so concentrated that you're only allowed to experience them by taking a dedicated shuttle.
And the descents? Downhill drivers face some terrifying high-stakes physics here. On Nujiang's Death Road, brake pad temperatures can hit a blistering 932 degrees Fahrenheit. If drivers don't use the roadside water refill stations for their cooling mist systems, they're looking at instant tire fires or total brake failure. Meanwhile, on the Panlong Ancient Road, the relentless curves cause passenger motion sickness so severe it's actually worse than a rough sea voyage. In fact, just surviving it earns you the right to pose by a famous sign declaring you've finished all the curves of life, and from now on your road will be nothing but straight lines.
All right, Section 3. Conquering water and ice.
It is absolutely mind-blowing to realize that engineers used enough steel to build 65 Eiffel Towers just to construct the Jiaozhou Bridge. We're talking about a 25-mile sea crossing supported by 5,200 pillars driven deep into the seabed. It battles salt corrosion and massive waves, and brilliantly, it features the planet's very first marine interchange. You can literally change directions in the middle of the ocean.
And look at the heavy-duty defenses required for the Hangzhou Bay Bridge, built right over one of the 3 fiercest tides in the world. It uses an S-shape to diffuse massive wave force and is engineered to withstand Category 12 typhoons and direct collisions from 300,000-ton oil tankers. It even has rainbow-colored railings that change every 3.1 meters just to prevent highway hypnosis.
Now contrast that immense oceanic fortress with the Guazhou Highway. To preserve native forests, engineers built the Guazhou entirely suspended in the middle of a river. They enforce a strict 37-mile-per-hour speed limit and require snow chains in winter, prioritizing extreme eco-preservation over speed. These battles extend into even harsher climates too. To survive permafrost, the Qinghai-Tibet Railway drives giant heat pipes deep into the earth to constantly cool the soil and keep the ground permanently frozen. This route is so intense that every single seat has its own personal oxygen port. On the flip side, at Yuncheng Salt Lake, vehicles get assaulted by ultrafine, highly corrosive salt dust that'll destroy a car's steel underbody faster than any marine environment. And we definitely can't forget the G315 highway in the Gobi Desert, where authorities actually have to use AI cameras to find tourists who foolishly lay down on the road to take selfies during blinding sandstorms. I mean, come on!
Let's take it higher with Section 4, Suspended Above the Clouds.
584 feet. The Longtung Bridge features hollow piers, standing 584 feet tall, which is basically equivalent of a 60-story building planted straight into the bottom of a gorge. Just to do routine maintenance, workers have to endure a terrifying 120-second elevator ride alone inside these hollow pillars. Crossing it feels like walking a tightrope in high winds, but it's an absolute game-changer. It cuts mountain travel times for local trucks from several dangerous hours down to mere minutes.
So, the real trick here is managing physics at these extreme heights. The Yaxi Expressway is this steel wonder suspended over earthquake-prone valleys, featuring a terrifying, continuous 31-mile downhill slope. The burning smell of brakes is so common up there that high-density emergency escape lanes are a literal necessity. To manage the massive elevation changes, they utilize 360-degree spiral bridges. It's a lot like the Tianglong Mountain Road, a surreal metal structure that uses 3 stacked circular levels. It looks absolutely amazing in drone footage, but driving through 3 continuous spiral loops causes total aerial confusion. Your brain literally loses the ability to judge the difference between going up and going down.
The scale of these sky-high titans is just hard to wrap your head around. The Huajiang Bridge has a massive 4,659-foot main span over a staggering 625-meter drop. You could stack 2 Eiffel Towers in that gap and they still wouldn't touch the bridge deck. Just as awe-inspiring is the Guazhou Bridge, which uses 70-story towers to carry a vital expressway right through a major earthquake zone. Oh, and we have to mention the Xi'ani Bridge, featuring an incredible inverted Y-shaped tower that suspends traffic 263 meters above a rugged canyon. These structures completely erase the treacherous hour-long winding mountain roads that people had to deal with before them.
And finally, Section 5, Stepping Over the Abyss.
The sheer terror of the East Taihang Path is undeniable. Suspended at an altitude of 3,871 feet, the vertigo here is so intense it actually causes tourists to panic and faint. Seriously, rescue personnel point out that the sensation forces visitors to cling closely to the inner cliffside just to feel an ounce of safety. And to even walk on it in the first place, you have to wear mandatory fabric shoe covers. Why? So you can actually maintain some grip on the smooth, damp red sandstone without slipping straight off the edge.
If you want to talk about stark dread, the Wansheng or Division Sky Porch captures it perfectly. This structure extends an incredible 230 feet straight out from the cliff face, with absolutely no supporting columns underneath. When you stand on the glass floor, you are looking 984 feet straight down. That's a 100-story drop. And yes, the glass actually vibrates in the wind right under your feet. It's a similar sensory overload at the Rui Bridge. It's shaped like a traditional Chinese symbol of good fortune, which visually stuns you while actively swaying 459 feet high between 2 cliffs.
6 inches. That is the width of the narrowest bottleneck on the Jianmen Pass Ape Road. It forces you to press your chest flat against the cold rock on a sheer 90-degree slope, clipping your own safety hook onto a thin cable over a 2,625-foot drop. And once you start, you can't turn back because there literally isn't enough space to turn your body around. It deeply rivals the fear of Tiandu Peak, where you have to climb 1,500 vertically carved steps into the clouds just to cross the Carp Backbone, a terrifying rock strip barely 3.3 feet wide with lethal drops on both sides. Ultimately, exploring these extreme structures leaves us with a pretty fascinating question. Do we truly prefer the predictable safety of our straight, comfortable neighborhood roads, or do we, deep down, possess the daring required to conquer these mind-bending intersections of human ingenuity and sheer, unfiltered terror? Would you take the wheel? Thanks for stepping into the abyss with me on this explainer. See you next time.